How do you hide your money and crypto from the taxman in an era where banks auto-report everything and crypto exchanges are next? They say no matter where you stash your wealth, Big Brother is always watching you. Well, in the next few minutes, we're going to explore the one legal way that you can avoid your information being sent to the tax authorities by essentially calling yourself a financial institution. Yes, you heard that right. In the next few minutes, we're going to break down step by step, how do you do it? What do you need to actually implement it? But most importantly, how do you make sure you do not spend the rest of your life in prison with Sam Bankman-Fried? Without further ado, guys, let's dive in. To start off, the old days of numbered bank accounts and no KYC centralized crypto exchanges is quite frankly long gone. They're dead. They're not coming back. And we've talked about many times on this channel about crypto reporting rules such as DAC 8 or CARF, which are being implemented right now as we speak. And they're using the exact same framework as banks have used over the past decade to implement automatic information sharing. No matter where your wealth lies, even if it's in a trust, even if the account is held by a company, they still want to know who is pulling the strings behind the entity, who is the ultimate beneficial owner, as they call it. And once they have that information, then guess what? All of that information gets sent straight back home to your tax man. No questions asked, and most importantly, no subpoena required. In fact, this is just going to get more extreme in the future with sticky taxes. They, much like your ex-wife, do not want you to relocate to a much warmer country with a much younger new wife. I mean, God forbid you leave her with zero future income, right? So many countries are imposing extended tax liabilities, especially if you relocate to those, so to speak, tax havens. And expect more jurisdictions to follow suit because, after all, automatic information sharing is going to be their primary weapon to catch you. It's going to be that harpoon. However, if you've watched this channel quite frequently, you know that we do not see the world as burning. Quite frankly, as Russell Crowe put it brilliantly in A Beautiful Mind, for every problem, there are often more than one solution.
As you will find in multivariable calculus, there is often a number of solutions for any given problem.
One of those practical solutions is Monero. That is why we are hosting yet another event here in London on February 20th, this time on how Monero can be used to move money anonymously in today's digitally surveilled net. So, if you're a big fan of Monero, or you simply want to know how to use it practically, the events link is going to be in the description down below. However, the solution that is promoted by these fancy lawyers around these automatic information sharing agreements is to put your assets into a specific type of trust, which they like to call the SPV Custodial Institution Trust. Before I break down how it works in practice for you laymen out there and in simple English, a trust is basically a legal setup where you put your money and assets under the control of somebody else. That person is called a trustee, and their job is to manage all of your wealth for the benefit of people you've chosen, such as your kids or your spouse. Now, this arrangement has been very popular for hundreds of years because it's very flexible, and most importantly, under the right structure, you can clearly and legally show that those assets are no longer owned by you. Instead, they are held by somebody else with clear rules on how and when they can be used. Now, when you open a bank account or a centralized exchange account with a trust, naturally, your first instinct is, since I don't own anything on paper anymore, the trustee's name is only going to show up, right? Wrong. Banks and centralized exchanges have been very clear that during the KYC onboarding process, they will ask for information on you, the settlor, the person who created the trust, as well as on the beneficiaries, such as your spouse, your kids, etc. And most importantly, in practice, these institutions consider you, the settlor, to be the person behind this entire structure, not the trustee. And therefore, even if the account is in the trust's name, you are still seen as a controlling person. And depending on the reporting requirements, they can still send all of your information automatically to your home country's tax authorities. So that's why most of the time, a normally set up trust is not the invisibility cloak that people think it is. However, these fancy lawyers have come up with a loophole, a force field if you will, which is to designate your trust as a, quote, SPV Custodial Institution. What does that mean? Well, in simple terms, you are going to label yourself as a financial institution very similar to the shell bank loophole. A financial institution or a custodial institution is basically a bank, it's a broker, it's an investment fund, essentially any business that deals with holding other people's money for a fee. And yes, just like that, you're going to call yourself a custodial institution on paper. As the saying goes, if you cannot beat them, just join them. Now, you may be telling yourself, this sounds too good to be true. Don't you need a license to do this? Don't you need some certification to operate this? Well, and this is what these lawyers argue, that under the Common Reporting Standards and FATCA, this status is self-determined, meaning these information sharing agreements clearly state that you can legally become a bipolar narcissist, call yourself a custodial institution, even if you're not BlackRock or JP Morgan. Please understand where the devil's trick lies. By calling your trust a custodial institution, you're no longer getting reported on. You're the one supposed to do the reporting, just like the banks and crypto exchanges. Now all of a sudden, at least on paper, the roles are reversed. You're no longer the average citizen, you are the police. You're not getting checked on, you're the one supposed to do the checking, writing up all the reports on yourself. Bear in mind, if you set up this structure with a trustee from the UK or the US, my man, spend some money on a great psychologist or a psychiatrist, not because you have some mental problem, but because you'll definitely need that documentation for a future criminal court case in order to use the legal defense of insanity. Because if you operate a custodial institution from the UK or the US without a license, such as an MSB license, you are begging for a nasty call from the SEC or the FCA, and they will anally probe you faster than a bunch of people who are also too smart for their own good. So, how do these lawyers get around it? Well, they make sure that the SPV Custodial Institution Trust only uses a trustee, the person who's going to manage the money, from a non-recognized territory that is not part of the OECD's information sharing network. So the way they pitch it is that since you're only using your own private money, the custodian does not take on third parties' money, other people's money, and you're using it in your own private structure, it reduces the risk. And most importantly, these non-recognized places don't even have a licensing body. They don't have any regulatory laws for these financial institutions. And I'm talking about jurisdictions that you've probably never even heard of. Places like Svalbard. It's an island near Norway that is known for their polar bear attacks. I'm talking about St. Helena, where Napoleon was exiled, the Falkland Islands with all of their penguins, could even use northern Cyprus, or the 2 military bases on Cyprus that are owned by Britain. The point is, or the way these lawyers argue, is that since the trustees are in these non-recognized territories and they're holding the documents, it is almost impossible and very difficult for your home country to even ask for that information in the first place. And you can build almost a completely anonymous structure. Heck, they say you go a step further. Some of these banks and crypto exchanges might have too little of a risk appetite for non-recognized territories, places nobody has heard of. So they say you can resettle this trust to a friendlier, more reputable jurisdiction. Places like Cook Islands or Singapore. And now all of a sudden, this settlor is no longer going to be you, it's going to be the custodial institution. And your name has disappeared from all the records. It's almost like James Bond level of anonymity. Now, I hope you could sense a little bit the sarcasm in my voice, because, before you get too excited, all of these lawyers, the biggest issue with them, in the words of Robert Redford, is that they are soldiers who have never seen the battlefield.
Any man with a collection like this is a man who's never set foot on a battlefield.
In other words, they're going to present you with all these services, with these complex structures which look good on paper, and yet they miss the key ingredient. How do you open the bank or crypto exchange account? Because without one, all of these trust agreements are just overpriced toilet paper. And during the onboarding process, the banks and the crypto exchanges, they want to know who is the ultimate beneficial owner. And do you really think that you're just gonna waltz into the bank or call up the crypto exchange, present your Penguin Trust and say, "Don't worry, guys, you don't have to report me to the tax man. Just look at the CRS guidelines. Trust me, bro." Do you really think they're gonna say, "Well, all right then, I guess there's nothing to see here. Here's your account, sir. Have a nice day"? Of course not. That's not how the real world works. It doesn't revolve around a legal bubble. Now, in order to make this work, you need to have two things in place. First, you have to come in with over 7 figures in wealth. That's non-negotiable. Secondly, you have to already establish a relationship with a bank through an introducer who's going to bring you straight to the bank manager. And sure, those type of introducers definitely exist. And all of a sudden, it's no longer going to be a KYC process or presenting your source of funds. It's going to be more about, how do we make this work? And now all of a sudden, your Penguin or Polar Bear Trust homework is interesting because the bank isn't on it. And they'll actually appreciate the structure if it covers their asses from the government watchdogs. Because they want your money. They're just not going to stick their necks out for some random person walking in from the street. To conclude, by no means are we saying that the SPV Custodial Institution Trust is a useless idea. The opposite. In fact, we believe that in the future, when the OECD comes out with their automatic information sharing for property title deeds, well, then it won't even matter if you have an account or not. It's a great way to obfuscate yourself from all those public registries as a settlor. However, you have to work with advisors who not only know how to build this structure, but also have the street smarts to put in a bank and crypto off-ramping rail. And simply put, a bunch of lawyers, they are book smarts. They get lost in all the legal textbooks, they forget that they left law school decades ago, and they never really think about how the law works with reality. After all, it's one thing to spar Mike Tyson at a gym where you're wearing the headgear and the soft gloves and you're surrounded by friendly faces. That's law on paper. And then there's a completely different level when you step into the Madison Square Garden with thousands of people chanting for Iron Mike to rip your head off, and you're fighting him for the title belt. That's law in reality. That's the difference between legal theory and actually implementing these structures in practice. And that is also why we host these events, so that you can find ways, in this case, to implement Monero in your own finances on a practical level. We hope to see you there on February 20th in person. But that's it for today's presentation. If you enjoy this type of content, by all means, you can comment down below to boost the algorithm or share it with a friend. But I'll be seeing you next time. And until then, bye-bye.